trap stands empty amongst the reeds. No insect sounds or movement around. Only the reeds' melancholy rustling.
Fantastic.
The locusts, dazed from being transported, slowly begin to acclimate to their new surroundings. They're not really going to get the chance to get comfortable here.
Good, now that's done. When do you think we will return to our impending apocalypse of a murder investigation? Don't answer that. It was a rhetorical question.
He doesn't want to, but if there is one more cryptozoological runaround, he must force the investigation back on track. This better be it.
Hello, dear. It's good to see a familiar face. Thank you for doing that, dear.
Her smile is wary. Her earlier ebullience has left her.
Morel still isn't feeling well. I convinced him to stay at Gary's to get some rest. I'm afraid the cold has really gotten to him. Yes. Field work is a young person's game, as they say. Morel will eventually, or we'll talk Gary into going back out, perhaps.
The lieutenant stares at his shoe, caked in mud. He doesn't say anything.
No, you don't have to do that. Enough of this fool's errand. Morel will do it. Or Gary. You have work to do. I've wasted enough of everyone's time.
Be real. Gary is not going to help with this.
That really is too much, sweetie. Thank you for your dedication, but I can see you're coming down with a cough yourself.
Fuck that cough. It's not happening. The insides of your lungs are lined with tobacco, a powerful antibacterial agent. You are unstoppable. Very strange. Why is she not letting you do this? It's like she's given up.
Different? How? I'm in doubt, sweetie. That's all. Everyone is now and then. It's a strange feeling. I haven't really told this to anyone, but you are a police officer.
And when a police officer asks, you must answer.
Do you ever wonder if some lovely story from your childhood is just that? A story? Or a dream? Seeing the Insulindian phasmid was just a story I used to tell people. I didn't really think about whether it was real or not. Morel's so proud of it. He always tells everyone.
A terrible sting in the heart. Regret.
No, at least I don't think I did, but Morel was so eager to believe my story was evidence of the phasmid's existence. That I'm some queen of the cryptozoologists. That, And for years, his belief made me believe too.
That I am a queen, an extraordinary witness to grace.
But now, we're both getting old, and he's still working himself sick out in those reeds looking for it. But what?
The lieutenant opens his notebook, but doesn't write anything. An acorn is not the same as the tree. That requires time, diligence, and care.
But it is. We've spent years searching for the phasmid, hunting it together. Without it, what are we? Just another pathetic old couple. If I hadn't led him down this path, he could have a steady job lecturing at a university. Oh, of course it counts for something. But we've had our hard times too. I was a paraplegic before we met. He didn't know before I arrived, on our first date. If I weren't the queen of the cryptozoologists, if I didn't tell him that story...
She has to swallow to relax her throat. It's keeping her from talking.
I've wasted enough of your time with this drama. I really must stop talking about it, lest I start crying and waste more of your time. What you have to know is, the Insulindian phasmid probably does not exist. Let us fools chase our ghosts. There are a million better things to do with your life.
Are there? Some of the other things are pretty bad.
A true believer. Sometimes I still see it too. The real memory of it, how it was there. Not the memory of the memory, but it's so hard to tell the two apart.
Rising, unfolding from the reeds on a hot summer's day, like a benevolent god.
Either way, I should go. Poor Morell is running a fever, and I need to get him home to Jamrock before we overstay our welcome with Gary. Oh no, thank you, but I can get there on my own. This old thing is gas-powered. And then a taxi home. It's not so bad.
Really?
Oh, sweetie. Please don't get stuck on a dream. Take it from me and Morell. Okay, it's 1113 Tabernacle Road. Jamrock, but...
A sigh. She doesn't think you'll need it.
Likewise, sweetie. Thank you for everything. Truly. Even though it turned out to be a
waste of time. A dream. A fool's hope, say her lips moving in silence. Like that, she drives off. The gas engine putters quietly as she gets to the doors, then pushes them open. Outside, the cold, coastal wind blows.
We should go too.
Somewhere out there, a kilometer to the southeast, a gust of wind shakes the felled building, rattling dusty windows, beckoning with strange coldness, to ask the wind once more. I chain the beat. Listen, you can use the compressor to select between which track it's compressing. either the auxiliary signal or the main input from the tape. Make it alternate between the signals. The compressor controls the gain based on the level of the signal on the aux side chain input. It will allow maintaining a loud sound without peaks that fill up all the headspace.
Sidechaining it, you said?
Then he puts on his headphones and his eyes go wide, wider than they've ever gone on drugs. He starts jumping up and down with bliss, in total silence, still listening to his headphones.
Hey, what did you do to Egghead Cop Man? Did you break him?
Are you ready, pussy?
Noid straightens his back, ready for the beat.
I was born ready, Egg.
The audio assault is glorious. The speed freak dances on the stage, intensely waving his hand in the air.
This is beauty! This is life!
What in the world is going on? The way melody and bass flow together, it's unnatural.
Your body is taking a beating from the low frequencies crashing over you. It's making you feel alive again.
Introducing the ultimate sound!
God damn it! This dance club idea might just work out.
DeLorean Church! The place to be! Pump it! Pump it!
This is it. This is a new era. The fabric of the world has been irrevocably altered. Who will be the innocence of hardcore anodic dance music? You don't have to. You already have. A long time ago.
What? But Pale isn't here. We're thousands of kilometers from the edge.
That comforts her. She looks up into the darkness under the nave, then back at you.
Then what is that?
It's nothing. No, it's less than nothing. No.
Then the Pale is... But the gradient, it clearly hasn't started yet. We're here and the Pale is not. I understand. A theory of the Pale where instead of an outer ocean, it metastasizes, like a cancer or a mold, erupting in points inside the world. According to this, how long and information causing data losses in the East Insulindian front. Have you considered why it's formed in a church? And also when or how it might start growing, or if it has other effects in addition to sound and data?
An intellectual hunger fills her now, casting fear aside.
I also have a question, since we are piling them on. How do you know this? I'm not doubting you. I'm simply curious as to how a detective of the RCM
knows how to think this.
You think the presence of that puncture has somehow influenced the outcome of events here? Even say software development?
She already made up her mind when she heard it. Some kind of great and uncaring force had to play a part. It wasn't only them.
I told the producers we need to go and move to a normal office building with amenities. But no, the artists like the milieu, the writers like the history. I told them. You mean Plaisance and the Dice Maker? There was almost no one left when we packed up. Then go tell her. Of course! A pinewood sarcophagus, or a containment facility of some kind, built by the first settlers. I have considered the same. The bad news is, there were 7 pinewood churches built in the first decade of provincial settlement. Most of them were burnt down during the revolution, or repurposed before, during the suzerain. I'm not saying all of them have one in them, but
Some of them might. A black grain hanging in the air.
An amateur anthropomedic police officer. I'd like to say I've heard stranger things, but I'm not sure. This is a hell of a guess, however. Well worded, I might add.
yes, it is very interesting. But I wouldn't say you know. This is a guess. One that's going to have to be proved by anthroponetic scientists.
She falls silent. The wind blows in through the hole in the stained glass window, cold and moist.
I'm going to leave that out. But the rest, some of this I can use to start to explain this to the rest of the team. Maybe I'll sound mad, but
Ma'am, you will certainly sound mad.
one more thing. Maybe a club for anodic music isn't the worst thing you can erect around this particular point in space. I wouldn't go so far as to...
Yeah! Once the light is on in the universe, it will never go out!
Thank you, Egghead. Let's leave it at that, shall we? We have an anthropomedic detection to perform in this district.
The creepy woman! We were wondering about that when we worked there, but I had completely forgotten about it ever since. It must be anthroponetic crosstalk, the one you get in radios and long-distance calls. Now it makes sense, with the pail right on the doorstep.
Incredible. This would also explain why we get it on the police radio all the time.
It's quite common, actually. When the signal gets routed through pail, all kinds of irregularities take place. You may hear snippets of someone else's conversation, or the voice of your former lover, or an echo of an event that took place 100 years ago. Pale is a shroud of memories, and it doesn't really distinguish to whom those memories belong to. You could hear anything. Anytime.
Oh, it's you again. Are you looking for a die? You mean the curse that I'm spared of because I live outside its immediate reach? I'm listening. Excuse me? A 2mm hole in reality? This can't be true.
I'm afraid it is, ma'am. Sona Lukanen killed the former lead programmer of Fortress Accident, made the discovery.
Sona is involved in this? So it's even worse than I thought. It's not just the commercial area that's cursed, it's the entire world.
She looks outside the window where the night has fallen on the yard.
A curse is something superstitious, but a 2mm hole in reality? We all know what it means. It's pale. In any case, thank you for stopping by. It's good to have an answer, even if I can't claim to understand it fully.
In your mind, officer?
You think she really needs more of that after a man died at sea? What if I told you it is actually possible to go on a date sober? Before recorded history, men and women were able to do simple, very primitive things together sober. Acknowledge the situation and keep it basic.
I have, and I don't really.
Walks are fucking great cardio. Very stable fat burner. Aerobic exercise.
Just a walk? I don't know, officer. I would not have taken you for an innocent perambulator. Where would this walk take us, officer?
Officer, I thought we had a work of our own in mind. One that results in a solved murder investigation.
Oh no. You, come with us. Seriously, I insist. You need to understand that nothing is going to happen. We're just walking. That's it. Understood?
Having the lieutenant along is a fail-safe measure against any possible funny business.
Let's call it a walk. I'll join you if the ma'am insists.
I do, yes. Stroll on the beach sounds nice, doesn't it? All right, I'll see the kids haven't killed each other and we'll meet at Land's End in 15 minutes?
She doesn't wait for an answer. You better get ready. The woman gazes steadily at the waves. A sudden gust picks up her dark hair and lets it fall again, tousled, wild. She brushes a few stray locks from her eyes, and only then spots you approaching.
Aye, so here you are. It's late and the sun is going down. It'll be dark soon. If we stay here long enough, we will be joined by a cortege of drunks and teenagers. Know that you're not the first guy to bring a girl to Land's End. This is what the locals call a make-out spot. That is not going to happen here today. I just want to make that clear, Dimples.
Her thoughts are still elsewhere, with distances across the water, and with the water itself. Across the rusty water, that's La Delta, the financial district. In the mist-covered distance, towers rise as a rebuke to the poverty of this coast.
Drinking men aren't known for keeping their appointments. Aye, so an officer should be. All that running around must need a lot of structuring.
Her laughter is throaty and warm. It rhymes with the waves and the cries of the gulls. As she turns to face the sun, reflected in the waves and the skyscrapers rising across the bay, you cannot help following her steady gaze. You should say something, anything, maybe the tequila sunset thing.
It's a common Revacholian expression. Means drinking yourself to death. And what about you? Keeping the name? Well then, Officer Dubois.
The remains of the dying sun are reflected in the waves and the skyscrapers rising across the bay. Your mind clears for a moment as your senses take it all in. Not just the glass skyscrapers, fragile looking in the shimmering air. River Esperance flowing into the bay.
Isn't it strange for this all-powerful thing, the sun, to be so generous towards us? You know, the best time to go out fishing is usually towards sunset, when the water is warmer.
The sun also falls on the Capeside tenements and war-torn ruins. An old sea fortress juts out, seemingly impervious to the sheen cast over everything else, shaking you out of your reverie. The sun does little for the dead, and those hopelessly lost in their own minds. Or people living in desert climates with sparse vegetation and little drinking water.
Oh, that was a bit of pride and a bit of superstition.
And a bit of conceptual unity too, it being yellow and all.
Now you're just nitpicking. But I concede. Maybe desert people sometimes disagree.
There's salt in the air, and the cries of the gulls and the skuas. Grit of the sand and the green glint of broken bottles. But still your gaze always returns to the dazzling streaks of light, wherever they may be reflected, their fading opulence.
It's bringing us spring, summer. It's entirely on our side, no matter what we do or who we are, for absolutely no reason. It's unlike no other powerful being, certainly no powerful organization or government. How can that be? No. And it will outlive them all.
Maybe some general remarks before you say something big. Work your way up to the cool. Here we go. 2 different approaches to cap this off with style.
That it does. But then, we are also enemies to our enemies, hey? And so she shines on us. The cops and the commies, the killers and the saints. You know, the wind's gonna pick up soon, and I have to go, but... Have this. The sun's good, but it doesn't stick things. I've no use for it anymore. No. Men around here are too drunk to pose a threat to me.
The lieutenant looks at the sword with distrust in his eyes. Do not bring it into a gunfight, he thinks. Please understand, it's merely ceremonial.
Doubt it. But thank you for the company.
This is as far as it goes with her. You'd need to put a year between you and your last drink for anything more.
Farewell.
As she walks off, the wind picks up, and the light from the sun seems to fade. The crumbling silhouette of failed electrical R&D towers in the distance, beckoning.
I hope this has been refreshing for you, Detective. Let's return to our search with a fresh pair of eyes.
I see you haven't left our little Martinez yet. Still running around. Like some kind of cross-country law official. Hi, I guess you do. What's on your mind, Officer Harry? Oh, that's good to know, I guess. Why is it in the sea? This calls for a funeral, if you ask me. You never know, officer. Some things might have a soul. But I get it. Rational guy like you probably has a lot on his plate anyway. So what can I do for you? Oh? Who? Okay. When did this person stay here? Oh. I've been out on the sea for most of the past week. The weather's been good for fishing, so I usually start at 4 in the morning. Yes, that's the optimal time. Got to make the most of the calm. I've been sleeping like a corpse after. The sea really takes its toll. Now I'm just waiting for the wind to settle to get out there again. Sorry I couldn't help you out. Maybe I can help you find someone else. Really? Are you sure you're not also looking for Nadia Harnoncourt? Or Ignis Nielsen? Or the great lost city of Ace under the waves? A lot of stuff. Oh, there's plenty missing. But that's too much for even an eager terrier like you to handle. Although you seem very thorough. Tell me, instead, is there something else I can help you with?
You see, a once bright mural towering above you. The signage has peeled off over the years, but you can still make out Feld Electrical R&D. A slogan used to intertwine with the loops a long time ago. Now, only a shadow of peeled letters remains. It says, "Tomorrow is just a whisper away."
Looks like tomorrow never came.
Above the mural, a collapsed roof, broken windows set in walls that are cracking and will soon also fall, and the coastal breeze rustling and sighing in the remains of the edifice. Feld Electrical. How ironic. All these dark rooms. Feld Electrical. You only know them as a small company that makes ink cartridges. Looks like they used to be big. There's something in the wind. Sometimes the only way to go forward is to fail first. Indeed, somehow you knew it was here. An urban ruin gutted by looters that once used to consume money and dispense warmth and light. You felt it before when it rained in Martinez, and you felt the cold of the rain. The feeling persists. It has been in you ever since.
In there? She could. Or she could be in the identical room over there, or in that boat shack, in that church tower, maybe.
Why single out this one building? Even though you're sure you succeeded, all is quiet. There is no cold hand brushing against your forehead, no rustle in the reeds. The wind has died down. The ruin in front of you is silent as a tomb. Trying to talk to the wind, the city, whatever you thought would happen did not. And now you're just standing there in the pale of the morning with your hands fallen to your side. Is trying to talk to the city something you've done before? Is it in your secret repertoire? A trick for when you're out of ideas? A prayer of sorts to Revachol.
How do we? I was really hoping she'd be in the village. Okay. She's probably north of the village, and this place is a peninsula. We already scanned most of the outdoor areas on our wild cryptid hunt, so we have an understanding of the geography, at least. And then there's the church. We've already searched that and can rule it out. I know it doesn't feel like progress, but exclusion is a step too. Anyway, we do it the old-fashioned way, sector by sector. Go over the whole peninsula, ask the locals, enter the places where we can enter first, like we did in the village. Then, if we're desperate, we can look where we can't enter. Bunkers, storm drainage, this place. I'm sure it won't come to that.
Walk the coast, the old boardwalk, the reeds. You can always come back here and talk to the wind again. Look where it already got you. An adventure awaits. An adventure on the windswept urban coast. Buckle up and raise your collar. This search is going to be wet and cold. A rusty ladder leads to the rooftop. Some of the rungs are missing.
Yeah, that doesn't look good at all.
The distances between the remaining rungs are rather wide. You'd have to use the mounting brackets. However, they seem corroded and the peeling rust is razor sharp. In addition, the first rung is going to be tough to reach. It's what, 3 meters above the ground? And you're 180? Not to mention that the roof is collapsing and the wind gets pretty brutal up there. Dismounting from the ladder is going to be hard. Perhaps if you were to not climb the ladder. Instead, what if you were to do something more subtle? What if you were to reconceptualize climbing the ladder? Astral projection. Be open-minded about this. Yeah, because falling from that height seems, well, splat. So don't do that. Just, you know.
Teleportation is not a thing. This really has nothing to do with adventure. We are dealing with basic physics here. Oh yes, it could hurt a lot.
He is restraining himself from using a parental tone with you right now. All you need to do is close your eyes and concentrate. Darkness enfolds you. You can feel the distance between the bench and the first rung of the ladder. All you need to is... Zoot, zap, ow, crinkle! It's like magic. You feel yourself disappear. Your atoms fading out of existence.
Okay, well, that's impressive, but...
Bam! You find yourself on the roof, having mastered the art of physical displacement.
I just saw you climb the ladder. You just climbed it like a regular person.
The wind at the top of the building starts howling loudly, blowing away the lieutenant's voice. Faintly you hear...
Never mind! Find a way to let me in when you get inside. Don't go adventuring without backup, especially if we think the suspect may be hiding here.
This isn't just glass. These are old computation components. Yes, filament memories. From the time when wires were cast in glass, slides with an inlaid nervous system. The how was a closely guarded secret. Something that was locked in safes in human heads across the river where they were manufactured. As to why, your fingers don't know. The why is easy, because they hadn't come up with modern silicon-based systems yet. For vitreous cast filament memories, though, these seem incredibly advanced. A mustachioed and mutton-chopped man, amateurishly depicted, gazes at you with sad eyes. A plaque reads, K. Mazov. There is a spiderweb in the lower left corner of the portrait. Years' worth of dust is shaken off. The full head of hair, matched by an ample moustache and sideburns, look a bit silly. Someone crouches, heels digging into wet sand. Hands sweep across the sand, grains sticking to the frayed skin of the fingertips. An old man sits on a slab of concrete and taps his fingers against the glass of a scope. You shudder. Two rusty metal plates that slide apart form a crude door. It's been here under the boardwalk for a while.
What do you mean, who's there? It's me, Kim. Stop playing around and help me get the door open.
The doors seem to be on rails, but they've gotten jammed. You grab a side and put some strength into prying it open. With the help of your partner, the two metal panels slide open with a creak.
Huh. I hope no one dangerous heard that. After you climbed up to the roof, you mean? There's a maintenance entrance under the boardwalk. It's next to a drain pipe, possibly a storm drain. It was easy to miss before.
He's quite proud of himself.
Yes. It's cool to risk your life climbing rickety ladders. Anyway, let's investigate these passages.
Could this have been the killer's hideout? And this narrow window, the point of origin of the shot that killed the mercenary? This does look like an embrasure, a slit made for shooting out of. Outside the window, desolation. Snow falls softly onto the coastal sand, where it melts almost instantly. On rooftops, it lingers.
It's a great place to hide, and Mazovianism and murder are certainly not mutually exclusive. But there hasn't been anyone here in ages. Indeed, no one could get a clear view. Well, at least we've been thorough. I like thorough.
The lieutenant's voice betrays a slight disappointment, which he glosses over by reasserting control.
In fact, I think we're done with this bunker. After you, officer.
You feel something, like a swarm of hornets buzzing under your scalp. A strange tingling you can almost smell.
No, what do you mean? I don't feel it, but we should still be careful. There were footprints back there, and I'm pretty sure they were fresh. No, but you are the sensitive one.
He trusts your gut feeling on this.
Looks like our suspect. If she's in here, we need to plan our next step carefully. Once we detain a credible suspect, who knows what the Union and the Wild Pines will do? We'll set in motion events we have no control over.
You will upset the balance of power in Martinez. The deadlock between the company and the Union will destabilize. This part of town is a fine clockwork puzzle. Disturb its peace and it will start breaking down uncontrollably. Keep calm. Go over the whole situation in detail.
I leave that to your judgment. You already know what I think about cross-pollinating information like this. It's dangerous, but...
He just can't be sure. Maybe it will yield something useful.
I still don't think that was a good idea. But yes, our affairs with the Wild Pines are in order, since she isn't in Martinez anymore. Well, we are not responsible for what we can't predict, are we? I don't think the entire city will be razed to the ground.
If you can't predict it, there's nothing you could have done.
I think I see a cavern. Maybe more cellars? I think we've been careful enough. We still have the element of surprise.
I wouldn't be so sure. You haven't exactly been sneaking.
Or maybe not. Either way, once we go deeper, there will be no turning back.
Suddenly, your entire body is paralyzed. Aggressive white noise fills your skull. A strange pain, like you've never felt before. Through the static, you hear a woman's voice. It's like 1,000 radio stations are being blasted into your head all at once. But her words are the only ones you can make out.
I know you're feeling pretty uncomfortable right now. Don't move too much or fight it. That'll just make it worse. Can't say it's a pleasure, officer. I was really hoping not to make your acquaintance. But here we are.
The voice coming through the whirlwind of pain is not malicious. She doesn't want to hurt you, but she has to. Doesn't wish to hurt you, not according to your ear canals. Wait, no, not even your ear canals. This is going directly into your neural pathways. No, buddy, that's not going to help. You can't shield yourself from this. It's an entirely new type of experience, way worse than all the previous ones. Don't focus on the pain. Focus on doing your job. Tell her she's under arrest.
I'm using a pale latitude compressor. You and your partner have been caught in its field.
The explosion of static you're hearing is the ULAN frequency. Blasted from that pale emitter that Angus mentioned.
Saw my equations? You've been sniffing through my lorry, right? I expected as much. I am a bit surprised you knew what you were looking at. A pale latitude compressor is used to sort of make the pale more manageable. With a lot of these, you can force a radio signal grid on the pale, literally crunch the distance across it. Signals are relayed across a series of repeater stations fixed to buoys. Not a fun job manning those stations. All alone out there in the pale, people lose their minds in just a few years.
So, what we are experiencing is a concentration of radio waves.
Precisely. This is an industrial strength paraboloid. It's meant for forcing dimensions on something that doesn't have them. Needless to say, the frequencies used are out of this world. At the upper limit is the large prime number generator station. It's used specifically for pale latitude compression. That's why you may be hearing some numbers. But you might also hear, or think you're hearing, local radio chatter.
She's been holed up in here for a while with no one to talk to. Keep her talking, and you just might get an opportunity to break loose.
The pale? It's the end of the world. I built it myself.
And she's proud of it too, as she ought to be. This is way beyond your abilities.
That's illegal. I'm guessing it's patented. But we are beyond that, aren't we?
Oh yeah, way beyond. No, once I shut down the compressor, the pain will end. It may take a few minutes for you to steady yourself though. It's a bit like waking out of a very confusing dream. Yeah, I stuck my head in there before using it on you. It seemed like the ethical thing to do. Can't say that I enjoyed it. The field was weaker, but I can imagine what you're going through. Yeah, let's not talk about that shit. You were hunting me and fell into my trap instead. That's all there is to say about it.
So she thinks of you as hunters, not the cops, and of herself merely as prey.
If you've got something really important to say, you can do it through the white noise.
You're looking for a deal with my mattress. Damn this.
God damn it. Fine. If you really want to talk, I can dial it down. I've also got a gun, by the way.
She's carrying a 2-barreled front loader. Remain careful. Well, it doesn't feel much better, but you can form sentences now. Thinking doesn't seem to hurt as much. Just keep her talking, and you'll get through this. There's only 3 meters between you and the machine. If you keep her distracted for long enough, maybe. Be careful when you make your move. That'll be it for questions. Bide your time.
I heard you in the passages, and I've been preparing for quite a while. So you found my shack, huh? I'm not surprised.
Her tone is bitter. She thinks she's been betrayed.
So nice. That's one knife I didn't want to find in my back. I was, before I caught you in the pale latitude compressor. I'm fine now.
That's her admitting the bullet was an emergency exit.
No, I didn't do it. I only helped stage the lynching, though I doubt that makes much of a difference to you.
So she says she didn't do it, and she doesn't trust you. Is it you specifically, or the citizens' militia that she distrusts?
Who ratted me out, by the way? Was it Titus? No, he wouldn't have broken first. Oh, well, I guess I always knew she was a survivor above all else. But she couldn't have known I was on the coast. How did you find me? My boys? What is this? I thought Titus and I had a decent collegial relationship. Oh, doesn't even matter. How could they be my boys when they're not even my friends? Those guys liked me, I know it. This is what happens to people whom people like.
A dull despair is creeping into her voice.
How the fuck did the rest of you get by? I did, didn't I? Now you've come for me. Fuck them all the same.
That did make her forgive them. A little.
Like what? I already told you I didn't do it.
A strong moral compass. She still wants the opportunity to make a case for herself.
I didn't like him. Hardened mercenaries aren't particularly likable types. You think I was envious of his conquests? Look, pussy's not a problem for me, and definitely not a reason to off someone.
See her confident gaze, her toned arms. Yeah, she wouldn't have had much trouble in the intimacy department.
Plenty of broken people who don't come with that kind of body count. Besides, they're paid well for what they do. Yeah, sure. And I didn't like Wild Pines sending in those foreign hirelings. Me and a fuck ton of other people around here.
She didn't hate him, okay?
I'm listening. Man, I was with the boys the whole night. I hope they at least bothered to impress that upon me. Yeah, and I'm sure they also made some funny remarks about it. They always do. I've driven a lot of long haul and chugged a lot of beer, man. Can't do either without some power of mind over bladder. And anyway, that wouldn't have been enough time. Wow, now I'm curious. Please, explain. No, not since I was 14 and hanging out in the only diner in Dardun. Haven't been into low-risk, no-reward games since moving to the city.
Somewhere on the outskirts of Forburg, a scrawny teenage girl stands by the side of the road, greeting passing vehicles with a calloused thumb turned upward. She's tired. She wants to leave, but she knows she will come back.
Why? Yeah, and probably some ghosts from the time of the suzerain. I'm not really interested in supernatural mysteries. Not murder mysteries either, if that's what you're thinking.
She looks you in the eye impassively, making it clear that she's not planning to comment on the matter any further.
The fuck do elevators have to do with anything? Not particularly. I'm not really into old shit for old shit's sake.
God damn it!
Don't know it, but also... the shot couldn't have come from the roof, or we would have all heard it downstairs.
She has a point there. No one mentioned.
That didn't go super well. You've got to lay something better on her.
And the gun store, Trigger Happy Jacks. What did you think? That I'm going to squeal on my gun supplier? Sorry, I'm not that kind of gal. Sure don't.
The breech loader?
No.
This is such a wipeout.
A knocked away 80 front loader. Two-barreled. Not really what you were looking for, I'm guessing. Yeah, evidence. I considered her a good friend, yeah. Wow. Pissing, pinball, and now peeping. I'm just not following your insinuations, detective. If I want to stare at a pretty girl, I can pick one up at a bar. Or, worst case scenario, look at a naughty photo. Who has time to go skulking about the whirling, drilling holes in walls? Nope. Look, she has an effect on people. That je ne sais quoi that makes it impossible not to look at her when she walks into the room, and very difficult to look away. But travel enough and you realize, for the same reason that she's everyone's type as an object of desire, she's not irreplaceable.
Wrong. That kind of pussy is never replaceable.
What the hell, man? Yeah, why not? I've gotten worse. Oh, so that's where you were going with this. That's a very sentimental way of putting it. We both had pasts who didn't want to catch up with us, and we enjoyed listening to music together. Why not go on a road trip?
The lieutenant watches her expectantly, occasionally shaking from the pain.
Okay, fine. I was into her. Clausy was into me too for a time, I know it. We even fooled around once. And yeah, after that I thought maybe we could make a go of it.
She touched that radiant beauty, that silver wellspring of desire.
She does know how to pick 'em. She rejected me with some wishy-washy bullshit about how she was confused because she felt so close to me and valued my friendship so much, and how guilty she felt for leaving me on. I knew that wasn't the whole story, but thought, fine, I'll take it and move on.
No ill will there. It wasn't a problem for her.
Yeah, One time when we'd both been drinking, I said some heated things about how dangerous her patterns with men were. I was a little worried she'd blow it out of proportion in her head. All the drugs she was doing can make you feel like you're living in a DeLorean tragedy. Yeah, the girl seemed terrified. The merc was beyond caring what happened to his mortal coil. It was a no-brainer. Go ahead. It's your body.
And mine too, he thinks. But keep on. This must be done.
Who doesn't? Oh, you probably mean Claudia's rooftop. Sure, I've hung out there. She's got this great antenna. The view's pretty bomb, too. But you might say the antenna was the main attraction there, yeah. Along with Claudia. It's very powerful. I used it to tune into RCM frequencies. That's how I knew to be prepared for your arrival. Yes, I'm sure. And anyway, as I said before, the shot had to have come from afar. So, Heart of Gold Tommy fucked me over too. Never trust a musician.
That really comes as a blow to her.
Okay, great. You got into my lorry on your own. What now? You're going to arrest me for drug trafficking?
Beneath it, she's relieved Tommy didn't betray her.
Drugs don't make people abuse them. Hopelessness does. As for the drug trade, it would continue with or without me. I like to think that my efficiency as an organizer has at least prevented some internal conflicts.
She's proud of her organizational abilities even now, and trying to raise that pride as a bulwark against the desperation.
That's your prerogative. Man, it's to get away from all that murderous shit that I left Jamrock, my previous employer, for the Union.
She deliberately avoided naming the mob she worked for. You might be able to find this out later.
I got lucky being a dispatcher. Never had to do any of the really dirty work myself. This gun has only been used for self-defense against serious scum.
There, it's going to be easier to reach the machine now.
Based on what I've heard about you, you are serious scum.
There's a sinister note in her voice. Even with the gun and the compressor, she's afraid of you.
So...
That really comes as a...
Okay.
Beneath it, she's relieved.
Man,
She deliberately...
I got lucky.
There, it's got...
You won't get to. Your dirty little tricks won't work with me.
There's a sinister note.
Yeah? Where?
More questions before doing anything.
How should I know? As I keep saying, he already had a bullet in his head when I got to him, and there hasn't been any useful gossip over the radio.
Those rings around her eyes, her tired voice. She's been staying up late, listening in on the conversations crisscrossing Martinez.
Police radio? You've been following the case?
Who hasn't? You know, I can still see him there, in Claus's room, lying on his side. He was still warm, but the bluish light coming through the broken window made him look as though he'd been dead for a good long while.
Claudia didn't want to turn the lamp on. She was afraid of another shot.
I saw you roll into town. I wasn't about to stick around for questioning by a goddamn La Puta Madre agent.
That strange, distant fear is getting close now. It's a fear of yourself.
Yes, you. Everyone says you're his peon, his human can opener.
Through the sudden sharp pain in your head, you hear the lieutenant mumble something to himself. Fucking hell. And why me? You hear through the white noise. It's especially bad suddenly. Felt like a vein exploded.
Oh yes, they do. The cops, the criminals. Why do you think I'm holed up in here with a goddamn death ray waiting for you?
If she knows that about you, she must know your real name too.
Harry Dubois. One corrupt motherfucker with the disco pants and a funny tie. Agent to La Puta Madre.
So she knows your name. That doesn't mean you're on the tape. Criminals make up bogeyman stories about cops all the time. All of this just means that you're effective. Criminals know you and are scared of you. I don't know. Sounds pretty convincing to me.
Is that a joke or a threat? I'm guessing both. Yeah, sure.
She doesn't believe you.
I'm sure La Puta Madre himself will explain it all to you soon enough.
A man in a white suit walks through a garden coaxed from soil that had once been covered in asphalt. A city block closed off from the rest of the city by dark buildings. Rows and rows of poppies, most of which have lost their pink bloom, flank his steps. The man looks around, then up at the sky, sighs. Taking out a knife, he crouches at the end of one flower bed. He scores a seapod, very gently. Milky sap begins to ooze out. The pain comes over you again.
You've been to my lorry. You think the biggest player in Jamrock appreciates competition? And now I have Harry Can Opener in my lair. Fucking...
I thought we had an agreement, she thinks. This was not supposed to happen. She's not going to change her mind that easily. She still perceives you as a threat. Wait, one thing, possibly small, but she said you roll into town. Was that you singular or plural? She might know something. She eyes you warily, as though gauging your sincerity. She's refusing to adopt the demeanor of a cornered animal, a leader with no one to lead. She still wants to retain some control of the situation.
It's okay. We just want to...
All right, don't kill yourself over it. I was shooting the shit with Hardy and the boys over a few beers, like always. Then Klasha comes in, all pale and shuddering. She sits down with a drink, trying to steady her nerves. So I grab a seat next to her. No, I really didn't. She's not that easy to read. I just assumed she'd done too much blow. It wouldn't be a first for her. But no such luck. She was in some deep shit. She asked me to come upstairs. The merc she'd been going with was lying on the bedroom floor, dead. I knew she couldn't get the authorities involved, so yeah.
You made it look like he'd been hanged.
What? No. Faking a lynching was her idea.
She looks shaken. She wasn't surprised to be ratted out, but framed.
Yeah, in cold blood. It really surprised me how quickly she was able to get a hold of herself once we got up there. It was like she was another person. The party girl was gone. She asked me to help her drag him into the shower so she could wind the shower head around his neck to fake lividity. Then she dressed him while I went to get the Hardy Boys. Yeah, I wasn't sure whether to admire her or be disturbed. As I keep telling you cops, we didn't hear anything downstairs. No gunshot, nothing.
But even if this is true, weren't you worried this lynching might lead to...
War? The thought crossed my mind. But the mercenary's death was going to have repercussions either way. Although the way things are going... fuck it. I'm not responsible for these people after what they did to me.
Her grip on the gun is tight, her arms toned, her posture solid. Martinez lost a valuable defender.
Yeah, you had your death squad with you. What happened to them anyway? Sure you do. I bet they're just outside waiting. I guess I'll take my chances.
She'll go out in a hail of bullets if she has to.
Well, it wasn't this scrawny dude. You had two guys and a lady. The guys looked pretty buff. Lady wasn't bad either. One of the guys seemed chipper, a blonde. The other had a brooding something or other about him. And the woman was the only one in uniform. All were carrying. That sound about right?
No idea who these people are, literally. Satellite Officer Vic Mayer looks out of the window grimly, then puts his coffee down and turns to Patrol Officer Miller. We could either take a room here in the Whirling or go home for today. Let's go home, John. Nothing's going to happen today, she responds quietly. John takes his blonde wig off. Call Heidelstein. He can give us a ride.
Well, this has been a great talk, really. But I think I'm going to hit the road now. What bunker? Don't know anything about it. No one's been around since I set up camp. But I'm sure I'm not the first vagabond to...
Keep calm. Breathe in. After the pain recedes, it's a little clearer. You did it. The compressor lies broken on its side. It's quiet in your head again. It still hurts like hell, but...
All good, officer. Be careful.
She looks at the machine, assessing the damage. Her hand trembles.
Oh, fuck it.
She's truly desperate. She thinks she has no other options. You know. This is how you talk her out of it. It's the only scenario in which she lives. She pulls the trigger before you finish your sentence. You watch as her brains trickle out through her neon hair.
We clean up. It may take days for processing to pick up her body. We need to move it somewhere. That tent there.
plain red tent stands by dispassionately. It was pitched by practiced hands. She was used to camping out. You see a rolled-up sleeping bag and personal belongings.
We should put her in the sleeping bag, so the rats don't get to her.
The lieutenant nods. There she lies, cocooned in the sleeping bag, surrounded by empty cigarette packs, books, and half-read magazines. Magazines? You should look through them. Assorted soft covers, mostly pulp horror. A motor carriage lies buried in the snow on one cover. On another, a ghost airship. You also see a collection of radio enthusiast magazines.
See anything?
Rager Monthly, Journal of Material Science. More Technological Digest. One of the magazines doesn't have images on the cover. It's not a magazine, it's a leather notebook. You pocket the worn brown leather journal. She watches by, motionless.
We should read this immediately, like right now.
A thick journal. The cover is worn like someone used to carry it around in their back pocket. It's made of full-grain leather. The lower left corner of the back cover sports an embossed brand name, Schneller. Schneller is a stationery brand from Gottwald, beloved among architects and engineers. She had good taste and must have taken what she recorded here seriously. The journal falls open. About 2/3 of its ruled pages have been filled. The large cursive of someone who writes quickly and confidently. Perhaps too confidently. Many phrases and even paragraphs have been crossed out, with tiny corrections scrawled above and in the margins. It's a mix of logistical notes, diagrams, and personal reflections, all dated.
We could learn a lot from this.
Hard to tell exactly. It's mostly noted down in code. Looks like contact information, quantities, directions.
There could be useful information about local operations in those notes. We have a junior sergeant at my station who's good with codes. I can give this to her after we finish this.
Professionalism is his coping mechanism. Esoteric radio technology. The most recent ones probably pertain to the latitude compressor, sketches, calculations of distance and density. You make out a familiar spiral shape. Short, wry observations of people and places, probably a way to pass the time on the road. Also, what appears to be attempts to sort through some difficult decisions. There are a few passages with many questions in them. Staff issues, always tough on the leadership. You smell traces of betrayal. The first entry is from August 2nd of last year. It reads simply, I know my position is precarious. All I can do is make myself as useful as I can while looking for a way out. Remember, no one is indispensable. Nothing on March 4th. March 5th, though, well, that's bound to come back and bite me in the ass. I'm bad at this. Loyal to a fault. But that's another matter entirely. You have no idea what she means. These are personal notes. Don't expect to understand all of it. That name isn't mentioned as far as you can tell. Small wonder. Would you talk about La Puta Madre in your journal? You do see an M though. La Puta Madre. M is mentioned on March 9th and March 15th. Great. M's peon is coming to town. no doubt to investigate the lynching, but also I feel it in my gut to finally put a bullet in my head while I'm napping in my lorry or on a smoke break. Well, I won't stick around just to twist my own neck by constantly looking over my shoulder. Then again, isn't that what I've been doing ever since I got the call? Were you supposed to find her, even apart from the investigation then? On M's request? No, you wouldn't do something like this. You didn't follow through. You should have shot her in the head. Too late to do that now. Asesino grande. Better start looking over your shoulder now. Been holed up here for 3 days now. I'm used to being alone and all, but I don't know when I'll be able to leave, or if I'll be ratted out. They will rat me out, of course. I've made it a point to believe in the best in people, the boys, for example. But experience tells me. Did M feel truly betrayed by me? I was feeling threatened. He'd have to know if he threatened people, they'd take measures to protect themselves. Even I know that. Economic measures first of all. Gotta make a living, right? I can still hear his voice in the receiver. Taste the plastic. The entry ends abruptly. The call was a courtesy. He must have held her in high regard to personally tell her he knew about her plan to run drugs for the competition. The most recent entry is from today. It reads, "Even when I leave here, if I leave here alive, what's my next move? Staging a lynching is a crime, even if I'm not accused of murder on top of that. Forever on the run. Not really my idea of the open road. Man, I was really looking forward to winning."
I don't think she killed the mercenary. It looks like she might have been framed.
This whole thing was a detour, and a fatal one, he thinks. Don't get emotional.
She was in plenty of trouble, even without the murder charge. Still, it's a nasty business. No, I don't think you are. Ask someone in your precinct if you want to be sure. Classy was the one who pointed the finger at Ruby. Perhaps she was trying to steer us away from herself, or... Either way, we need to keep an eye on her. One thing is for certain. We have business back in the whirling and rags. Questions to ask. We should get to it.